an understanding of how the government works. I also have a knowledge of how budget and businesses work. And I have that as a greater depth and understanding, and that could be an asset to this city as well. So I want to thank the citizens here, and I would like to appreciate you being here as well as getting your vote for District 2 City Council. Thank you.
All right, at this time we'll move on to City Council District 4. Again, we have Jeff Burton, Mark Cooks, and Brenda O'Brien. At this time, we would like to do our opening statement. And again, this was drawn before the event. We have Jeff Burton for the first opening statement.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see the City Council packed. Let me start by thanking the Chamber and the Rotary for putting this on, and thank all of you citizens for showing your interest in where the city needs to be going. I appreciate that. I'm not a native Dallasite, not a native Texan, but I got here as quick as they can, as I could. I was born in Illinois, but my dad was in the Air Force in Amarillo, so I spent my first 4 years there. Went back to Illinois until I got out of high school, came here in 70 to go to electronics school, completed that degree in 72. About that time, I met my wife. We worked at the Gibson store in Southwest Moreland. She was in housewares, I was in hardware. But we've been married almost 46 years. That's stability that you need for people that serve on city council. I started working when I was 10 years old. I grew up in a little small farming community, so I was always out working on the farm. Working in the cornfields and the bean fields, and working for my uncles that were farmers when I was young. I've been working all my life. Well, I'm retired now, so I have time to give to a city council position. It's not just a figurehead position, folks. It takes time. They don't just spend 2 nights a week, 2 nights of the month up here for city council meetings. There's a lot of study and knowledge that has to go into what they do. I believe I have the most experience. I've served as a citizen for over 25 years for the city. I've served on the Board of Adjustments, which looks at ordinances, served on that capacity for over 10 years. And the last 3 years of that service, I was the president and chaired that commission. I've also served on the planning and zoning. Now, those two kind of go together. The Board of Adjustments is the judicial, quasi-judicial side of things. The P&Z does the planning and zoning for the city. I served on that board for 2 years. I've also recently been appointed to the Neighborhood Vitality Commission. I serve with Ms. O'Brien on that. It's a brand new commission. We're just starting our 3rd year, and we have a very active group that is already making great strides to bring our neighborhoods back together. And I support that. The biggest, maybe the most important appointment that I've had serving for the city is the comprehensive plan you just heard about from Mr. Duncanville. I was chosen and appointed by our current District 4 representative, Dr. Dotson, and the City Council to represent District 4 on that steering committee that worked with the consultants that put the comprehensive plan together. That's important because that's going to be one of the major things this City Council needs to do, and that's prioritize the comprehensive plan. I had that experience, my opponents don't. I appreciate you being here. I look forward to answering the questions and talking with you afterwards outside. I have a lot to offer, and I will always listen, and I will communicate back to you. Thank you very much.
Good evening, I'm Mark Cooks, and let me first start out thanking the Rotary Club in the city of Duncanville for putting this on tonight, and more so the citizens of Duncanville being here tonight. I'm Mark Cooks, and I'll tell you that I'm a father, I'm a proud papa, I'm a banker, I'm a believer. Those things qualify me just in itself to become your next city council person. I've been in banking for the past 40 years, and I don't take that lightly because I've learned a lot of lessons. I built plenty of partnership. I worked inside cities, outside of cities. I worked with small businesses. I worked with large businesses all over Duncanville, all over the city of Dallas. There's 3 things that I think that I want to continue to return back to the Duncanville City Council. Actually, I said return back because I'm one of the candidates that has experience in working with the city of Duncanville through his hard times and through his good times. I care about the quality of life in Duncanville. And what does that mean for me? That means that I care about our neighborhoods and crime. That means I care about the upkeep of our neighborhoods. I also care about economic development. Economic development is very important to me, as being my background of working with small businesses, my background of making sure that businesses are successful. We need that in our city. Our city has not always been very friendly to small business. And with a person like myself who has that background, back on the city council, I will assure you that businesses will not just come to Duncanville and leave, but the business will come to Duncanville and stay. And it will be something that each one of us can take care of. The other part I want to work on is educational partnership. We have a great asset at our Duncanville High School. We can use that partnership with Duncanville High School to build our future Duncanville. We need our past, we need our present, and we need our future all working together to grow Duncanville. If we don't have succession planning with working with Duncanville, we will always continue in that same circle that we've been for years. It is time to leave our legacy, and our legacy is building a future Duncanville with not only with who we have with you as our past, but those that are our future. I'm asking you to look at the credentials that I have for you today, knowing that I have the experience and I also have the time to make our city as great as it has been in the past and the way it's going to be in the future. I'm Mark Cooks, and thank you very much.
Brenda O'Brien.
Hello, it's nice to meet everyone, and thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for the Rotary Club for putting on this event so you can hear why it's important for me to tell you why I think I'm the best candidate to run for City Council. As I said before, my name is Brenda O'Brien. I'm a candidate running for City Council District 4. I have lived in Duncanville for 9 years. My educational background includes a Bachelor's of Science in Geriatric Health. I am a licensed occupational therapist in the state of Texas, and I do have a small business that I run right here in Duncanville. I am the president and CEO of a small contracting company. I have teaching experience in Kingwood College in Kingwood, Texas. That's where I put together and implemented an occupational therapy program for students in disadvantaged neighborhoods so they can bring themselves and their community up. I've also have been on the Neighborhood Vitality Commission with Mr. Burton for the last 3 years. 2 of those, I was the president of the commission. Today, I want to talk about why I think running for City Council is something I need to do in order to change the way I think things are running. I'm running because there is a need to change the way our tax dollars are being spent. I am running because I want to be more accountable for salary and staff of city staff. I am running because I don't want to see the same lack of representation in my district. I am running because I have the moral aptitude, the aptitude and the moral compass that will have a positive reflection on the citizens of Duncanville. I am running for those in my district who feel they have no voice and things will never change. Candidate Cook said that, and I quote from the Dallas Morning News, "I believe that the current tax rates are acceptable levels of service in the residents of our cities, and there will be no undue pressure on the homeowners of commercial properties." That view is antiquated and out of line with what's really happening in Duncanville. The property taxes are unjustified, and the fees and the water sewage lines are also way out of line with what our city is being charged. At the same time, it is important that we be honest and transparent with who we are. Honesty, integrity, moral fortitude is a part of what we need to do if we're going to represent our city. And on the same interview, Mr. Cook said, there was an interview and he said no, and the question said, have you ever been arrested for any misdemeanor or felony that was involved in the criminal processing? He said no. He was arrested for a Class A misdemeanor, according to the article. Although the charges were dropped later, he was not forthcoming and transparent in his behavior. Today,
All right, thank you, Ms. O'Brien. That's the.
Thank you.
First step. Now, just a quick reminder, we will be reading the questions here shortly. Again, all the candidates will answer the same question. They will have a 1-minute response. Again, the first candidate will have an option for a 30-second rebuttal if so desired. First question to be answered today is going to be by Mr. Jeff Burton. What is the most important public safety issue that Duncanville faces today, and what would you do to address the issue?
Thank you, Casey. The most important public safety item has been getting a lot of publicity lately, and that is we are understaffed on our police force. Our crime rate has not increased, so some may say, we don't need to increase that staffing, but the staffing was set for a specific reason. Our police officers are working in areas that they're not specialized in because we're having to cover areas that are not since we're not fully staffed. I believe at the moment, I believe Chief Brown recently informed us that we are 10 police officers below staffing level. And that's a concern, it's a major concern. And I plan to sit down and talk with Chief Brown on developing ways to alleviate that. I think it's a big feather in their cap for our police force that our crime rate has not increased with this lack of number of staff members. If you look at the information, we have been understaffed for more than a dozen years. Not nearly as high as it is right now with 10, but we've never been fully staffed. Our public safety, I know going out knocking doors and talking to people, the people are concerned. There's things going on in our parks where we don't have the manpower to put a police officer in the parks, people out when it's closed. We've got some ordinance enforcements that are not happening, and I believe our police force just needs to be strengthened. And I know Chief Brown's behind that as well. And I'll do all I can to work with Chief Brown and the City Council and our City Manager to do that. Thank you very much.
Mr. Cooks, same question. What is the most important public safety issue that Duncanville faces today, and what would you do to address the issue?
I would agree that public safety is very important for us in our city of Duncanville. One crime is one crime too many, especially if that crime happens to each one of us. I think one of the things that we talk about public safety, is to meet with our chief. It is not the role of the city council to meet with the chief. It is the role of our city manager to meet with the chief. So as the chief is giving his information, we share information back and forth, but the city manager directs the chief of police what to do. I think one of the things that we do is that we work with our city manager to make sure that the fair pay for our police officer is there. We look beyond to see how else can we recruit people to our city, our police department, and our city. I think the other part that we have is to consider is that yes, it is on our police department to do better, but also it's also on each one of us to be a part of that neighboring city, part of that neighboring to make sure that we're not leaving cars unlocked, that we're helping our police department.
All right, thank you, Mark Cooks.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mrs. O'Brien, same question. What is the most important public safety issue that Duncanville faces today, and what would you do to address the issue?
again, it is our police department. And my approach is not so much hiring more police, but understanding why they left in the first place. What was the cause of the police officers to leave? What internal issues? Because if we hire more police officers and we work with the city managers and we work with the police chief, but that problem still exists, then we really didn't solve the ground or the core issue. So we need to kind of go backward. We need to backward chain and say, we need to solve this problem first. Training officers is extremely expensive. It's a very intensive operation. And so looking at how we can maintain these officers and the asset of what it is that we have in our return, because we don't want to go through all this training again for them to leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Bryan. Our next question, again, Jeff, you'll be going first. If elected, what would you do to make Duncanville a business-friendly city? Actually, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, Mr. Cooks, you'll be going next. My apologies. Again, the question is, if elected, what would you do to make Duncanville a business-friendly city?
I'm glad you asked that, because that's one of the things that I shared with you on economic development. our citizens, our business, our small business and commercial business have told us many times that Duncanville is not the friendliest place to do business. And it's not me, I don't have a small business in Duncanville, but our businesses has told us that we don't have the friendliness that we need to keep small business. So I would work with our economic development director, I would work with our city manager, and to determine what does that statement really mean. That statement really means that we may need to look at some of the ordinances that we have and update those ordinances to see if it's something that we need to get rid of. If we don't retain our current businesses, new ones will not come. So it's to retain and it's to invite other businesses to come in. I think working with it is getting a small group of business owners together and listening to those business owners to share with us what we can do